Terry Welby-Cooke here from ActionCOACH Business and Executive Coaching, and really excited to introduce another fantastic action coach to you. And this one, a special one, because not only is he an ex-client, he's also from a very beautiful part of the world, and often a part that you would think, is there really coaching opportunity there? So Luke, thank you for joining us, and really excited to get to know you a little bit more in your journey before and into ActionCOACH.
Thank you, Harry. Yeah, nice to be here.
So Luke, we'll talk a little bit about your history just now, but you came to ActionCOACH in a very interesting way. You were first a client of ActionCOACH. So why did you take on a coach, and how did that happen to take on an action coach in the business that you had at the time?
Yeah, Harry, I think it was 2014, if my memory serves me correctly. So, I was in a partnership. There were three of us in a renewable energy business based in Pietermaritzburg. And there were just like lots of growing businesses. There were two founders and a new director involved in that business. And there were just some challenges, some alignment issues, I'd call them now, that I understand it all. And I was actually sitting at a coffee shop the one day, having had a tough session in the office with my two fellow directors, and I looked up, and there was this ActionCOACH sign on the wall there, where ActionCOACH used to be in Hilton, and I just wondered what they did. And the next minute, I forget her name now, came wandering out and sat at the table next to me. So I asked the question, and from then went back in, chatted to Patrick, and the rest is history. And I had a good session with him, and from there went back and spoke to my partners and said, I think it would serve us well to sit with Patrick and have a introductory session, which we did. And we joined Patrick, and he took us on quite a journey, which ultimately led to me leaving that business and taking one of the divisions. So it was a great introduction, and really showed me the value of coaching. When you look at the team alignment, and I think so often that is the story with teams. Not everyone's sailing to the same island, are they? And we definitely weren't. So it was helping us recognize it, and then looking at it and saying, well, it's not actually a disaster. Everyone's got their own individual dream, and how as a partnership that came together for good reason, go our separate ways and remain friends, which we did successfully. So it was a great introduction to coaching, and very valuable.
Oh, brilliant. So you took that business to the next level, then actually, as you said, left the threesome, took the division, went on your own, and continued with coaching, and was actually a client for many years. So when people think coaching for their business, what kept you engaged with the same coach for such a long period of time?
Sure, Harry, it's a good question. I think because there's so much work that needed to be done, probably. But I think coaching keeps uncovering. You never, you have a set of goals. When we first got into coaching as a trio of business partners, our goal was to find a way either to align the team and bring everyone on board, or to dissolve the partnership successfully, which we did. Then obviously I took one of those divisions, and we 10x that business with the help of coaching. So, there were so many, going through the 6 steps, and building that business from a base level, and taking it from, something that's, we were the technicians, into a business that functioned without us, essentially. And then, pivoted with COVID to become an e-commerce business, and, all those good things. So, I think you're forever evolving with coaching, and you grow with your coach. Today or this year, it's this set of dreams, or, you've got your 5-year goals, and, you break that down into 90-day sprints. And, so that's really, I suppose, my journey was a 5-year journey. When I look at where I began, I would never, ever have guessed that I would have ended up where I am today as an action coach myself. So, and I think that's the beauty of coaching. It's it opens your eyes to what is actually possible and what you really want to be doing. So I think that's what, and the sign of a good coach. I mean, Patrick was a great coach, and he held me accountable. And I think you follow that cycle, Harry, which you would have seen with coaches and your own clients, is that you go through radical growth spurts, and then you plateau. And so there are times when your coach needs to really hold you accountable and push you, and times when they probably step back a little bit and let you grow into that space a bit. And I think for me, that was a good fit on my journey, definitely.
Okay. And I think, we are, in the sporting context, we always think, we always have a coach. Often in business, we tend to think, teach somebody to fish and then they can do it on their own. But you're always trying to catch a bigger, more complex fish with different bait and different skills. And thus 5 years passes quite quickly. So before we talk about why you got into ActionCOACH and then, by surprise, decided you want to do this yourself, you've come to this business probably a little bit different to most. A lot of people come to ActionCOACH, they've worked in corporate, they've had senior roles, they've got tired, bored, reached a ceiling, whatever, and they come and want to start their own business. You've had a range of different businesses, so and been always very entrepreneurial. So give us maybe a taste of the different types of businesses that you've had and been involved with.
Yeah, I think I learned it, as a good friend put it once. He said to me, Luke, you're unemployable. So I had my own businesses from a young age, Harry. I think started my first business while at school, and I always had jobs in the school holidays. So, and got a good understanding then of what business was. My grandfather was very entrepreneurial and sold 2 big businesses to what was then Bollo's and became Bollo World. So I'd been exposed to it at a young age of what working for yourself could bring you. And I made garden furniture. I've been in the rag trade. I've had a Medical Aid Consultancy, which I had for 5 years and built up and sold that onto what was at the time the second largest brokerage in Natal. So that was an annuity income business, services based. And then from there into renewables, I've been involved. So I've been involved in startups. I've started my own businesses. I've bought businesses, sold and closed businesses. So I've had the full journey really, Harry, from, successful businesses that have gone on to sell for, healthy 7 figures to businesses that I've closed and lost money on. I tried the hospitality industry for a few years, art, and, some of them were, when I look at coaching now and the structure and how we look at a business and I think so often as business owners or as younger business owners or entrepreneurs, you do a business plan or you have a very rough business plan as opposed to a real plan. And there's too much emotion in business and not enough, actual facts and figures and the steps that need to be taken. They're often very dreamy startups, as opposed to these are the hard numbers. And here's a worst case scenario plan. I think every business plan makes us a millionaire on a spreadsheet, but there's no page 3 with what if it's worst case scenario. So I've been on both sides there, where the spreadsheet's been in my favor and where it hasn't. And I spent a few years as sales and marketing director for a publishing company. Had a CEO above me, and and I didn't enjoy that corporate environment. I found it, I think when you've worked in an entrepreneurial space, it was a bit boxy, but there's beauty to both of them, and I've just found the entrepreneurial side more fit for me, where you can pivot a little quicker, I think, as opposed to some of the bigger corporates. And when I look at my clients now on the business coaching side and executive coaching side, you can see that difference. But a lot of them that have come out of corporate and then gone into their own businesses have a lot of skill and the training that they gain in corporate that really helps them in their own business. I think it's just the structure sometimes and getting the basics right, that they've missed some of those areas. But it definitely helped me in being able to look at this as a business and say, okay, it's viable, and my lessons have taught me that this is something that I'd be good at.
Yeah, neither avenue is right or wrong. You're just going to come at it very differently, and you've got different advantages and different shortfalls. So I think that's the benefit of what you bring to any client engaging with you is a range of different businesses, being uber successful, had some struggles and some failures, being the beneficiary of coaching, and then you maybe fortunately or not so fortunately had this moment one day where you thought, well, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll become a coach and impart that same knowledge to others. So what led to you making that decision to say that you'd like to be an action coach, business coach?
Quite a few things really, Harry. I think growing up, my parents were entrepreneurial. Unfortunately, they never, business coaching just wasn't a thing back then when I was at school. And I look back now and I think if they had the benefit of an action coach, they would probably have retired successfully or lived longer. They lived under a massive amount of stress. They went from new business idea, and their business ideas were great ideas. They didn't lack it wasn't that it wasn't a good idea, and they certainly didn't lack passion or an ethic for hard work. They had all those ingredients right, but the basics, the fundamentals of understanding where your break-even point is, where your business is coming from, how to protect it, and to plan wasn't there. And I think if they had that, it would have been a different picture for me growing up. So a lot of it was driven and looking at people coming through the business coaching action coach system at growth clubs and meeting people and looking at these people and thinking, and some of the businesses I would have never imagined, had started so small and grown to the extent that they had through being an action coach, and businesses that were floundering when they joined. So it was quite beautiful to see that growth and change in people and to hear some of those stories. So that inspired me. So I think that experience and the joy of helping people, Harry, and I love talking. So I'm not that a good coach should talk too much, but I enjoy people, and it's a way of being involved in a whole lot of different businesses without having to own any of them. So I get to live vicariously through all my clients and hear their business journeys and see the opportunities, and and that's that I love. So I've had clients that over COVID now and the tough time we've had in the last 18 months, I've had a client 20x his business, and he's in landscaping and in an environment that everyone would tell you, that business won't survive COVID and lockdown, let alone grow 20 times revenue. So I think it's those possibilities, and it's his hard work and vision that have made that happen. But I think a good coach helps you see that, and that's what my coach did for me. He said, well, what would you love to be doing, and what's Luke going to be doing 5 years from now? And it certainly wasn't going to be in the retail game that I was in then. I'd run to a dead end in that business. It wasn't fulfilling me, and without a coach, I probably would have stayed there, Harry. And that's the beauty of coaching, is you're looking at your future possibilities and all the what ifs.
Yeah.
And when those questions are put to you and you say, well, maybe that is a reality, and why couldn't I do that? Or I'd love to do that. When you get asked the question, then, well, why not? And you start thinking about it, it stops feeling so foreign to you. Well, it did for me. The thought of coaching and standing up in a room with 20 or 30 business owners who had businesses much bigger than any business I'd owned. I've got clients now who generate 100 million rand a year. I've got an executive client now who's in a business that does 3 billion rand a year. So to sit 2 years ago, I'd never dreamt of that, Harry. So I think that's the beauty of coaching, is it really opens your eyes to what's possible and allows you to step into that space or have the courage to go and do that. And I'll forever be grateful for that. That one cup of coffee, best cup of coffee I ever bought, Harry.
And I think, you're quite profound that where you said you probably would still have been in that business, hating it, if it wasn't for somebody from the outside looking in and going, let's dare to dream, what if? And then build the roadmap there, which is what we get to do, and so much fun every single day. So that got you into the business, and you've shared some stories already around, the great results and 20x in a landscaping kind of environment through COVID. But you actually launched your business in COVID. You pivoted the other one from a retail business to online, and then joined right smack bang in the middle of lockdown, and was our first actual South African virtual trained coach. So talk us through this virtual training and launching your business in these weird circumstances.
Yeah, I think that was quite surreal in a lot of ways, Harry. And I mean, it was thanks to your faith that I could come on, and you looked at Crazy Irishman and said, well, we'll throw him in the pond first. So the training was amazing. I can only imagine that it would have been more incredible in a lot of ways to be in Las Vegas in person, but the training far surpassed anything I expected in that environment. And 20 months ago, or whenever it was now, we're so used to this platform. It was quite new then, and not being someone who's a tech junkie, it was very foreign to me. And then obviously I think training started at 9 p.m. and ran through until 4 a.m. most mornings, which is the time I'm normally getting up. So it was very different, but I mean, incredible training, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those coaches. And I think that training in that manner probably I was probably at an advantage, I suppose, to a lot of coaches, for the simple reason that was all I'd known of ActionCOACH, was this online environment. I think you and I only met in person this year. So all my interaction within the ActionCOACH community was virtual. And so I was very used to this, and it was quite easy then to introduce clients on a platform and be confident to say, no, it's, this is something we can do. And, you don't have to be in the same room, as enjoyable as that often is. So I think it's changed the world, and I mean, changed a lot of business models. The ability to pick up the phone or to get on a Zoom call with someone on the other side of the world, and chat to another coach. So I can jump on now and chat to Andy and the guys that were in training with me. They're sitting in Texas, and share an idea about an accounting firm or something to that effect, which I found quite incredible. And I don't know if you'd easily have those relationships if we had never gone through the challenges that COVID presented. So I've thoroughly enjoyed how small it's made our community. But that said, I'm really looking forward to, 2 weeks away, to all being in Cape Town together and meeting the rest of the South African team in person.
Absolutely.
And I think now for me, it's that hybrid. And that's what I find works with a lot of clients. So my clients that being in the Natal Midlands, some of them are farmers 40, 50 kilometers from me. And it's quite easy now for them to say, Luke, listen, next week's session, Wednesday, I'm going to be doing XYZ, or, we've got the vet out, or whatever it is. Let's just jump on a Zoom call and it'll save me an hour's travel. And I think that's made coaching so accessible. In the past, people were probably unable to be coached, or felt unable to be coached because they weren't in a zone where there was a coach. Now, you can be sitting in Pofada and they can pick up the phone and work with a coach in Stellenbosch or Joburg or wherever it is. And I think that's quite amazing, Harry.
But despite that, so I think, it's definitely, like you said, added in your favor. You went through virtual training and everybody was in this virtual world. So that's just how you marketed and acquired your clients. And yes, maybe now falling back into a bit of a hybrid. But despite the accessibility of coaching, and like you used the example, Stellenbosch and Pofada, whatever, the bulk of your clients are still in your local community. And if you've never been to the Midlands, you have a certain perception. If you've been to the Midlands, you have an even bigger perception to say, but what businesses are here that could ever sign up for coaching? Yet you live in the Midlands and not in the mainstream Midlands, in Nottingham Road, in the sticks, and a lot of your clients are, let's call it, in the sticks. So what's your take on the opportunity and the business in and around, your immediate area as a coach then?
I think the world's become a different place, Harry, because of COVID, and you'll find, there are loads of new people in our area who now run their businesses remotely. So they might be in manufacturing or whatever it is, and now they decided to come and live in the Midlands for the lifestyle, for the great schools, whatever it might be. And now that person is in a position where, they can work with me, even though their business is based in Durban or Maritzburg. I've obviously got clients in the bigger city centres, but in the Midlands there are loads of businesses. Where there's agriculture, you've always got a big group of servicing businesses that survive off agriculture in various levels. Whether they're trading in fertilizer and agrochemicals or supplying other infrastructure, servicing dairies. And agriculture has become a big business. There are dairy farmers here turning 150, 200 million rand a year in revenue. They're not farmers anymore, Harry. They're big businesses, and that's how they run their farms. They run them as businesses. They have big teams, 2-3 farm managers. They have marketing teams. They have big admin teams. They have animal husbandry teams. So, you'll find a group of 10 or 15 people that are now part of a business. It's just farming. But when people drive through the Midlands, they think, there's one man walking around in his wheelies looking after the place. And so it's not like that. And there are lots of other businesses up here, Harry. There's forestry. There's all the supplying and service businesses that look after quite a big community up here. Security. So it's been relatively easy, and I was quite lucky in being exposed to that, in my years in financial services, where, I came across clients who had huge books of businesses back of beyond on dead-end roads, who are running big insurance books and short-term insurance books in towns that you and I, would drive through and probably not stopping. So that's opened my eyes to that possibility. And obviously, the Midlands extends in various directions. So it's enabled me in a network. I think the one thing with smaller communities is people are quicker to refer. And that community culture where, people know what so-and-so is doing. And, if I'm at my office, everyone knows who's double cab Isuzu or Toyota Hilux is outside my office, and that will be the chat in the pub tomorrow night. And so I suppose it keeps you on your game, because you need to add value, so that when guys are having a natter in the pub, they're saying best thing I did for my business. But that's been a real blessing, and it's been a beautiful place to grow a business and to be able to live and work remotely. As well as have face-to-face interactions with clients. So that's been fantastic.
So if I was a business owner and I'm thinking, should I get a coach? And I go through the process and I'm thinking, maybe Luke's the guy for me. What do you think you bring to the party? What do you think the value is that you really bring to that business owner, that entrepreneur out there that needs to go on that coaching journey with you? Sure.
I think thanks to being coached myself, Harry, by one of your top coaches, and a well-known South African action coach who's coached and still does some big businesses in Natal, the accountability. We all have dreams. You can sit down and if you chat to someone for long enough, they'll tell you what their real dream is and their passions are and what they love and what they'd love to be doing, as well as what they aren't getting. You know, so often, like I almost ended up trapped in retail, you know. That's the beauty of a coach, is to say, okay, well, here's your current reality and here's your dream. So how are you getting to the dream? Because if you keep doing what you're doing now, you're not going to get there. Nothing changes. So I think, having been coached myself and been through that experience, and also at the time I started coaching, bear in mind that I was part of an unhappy trio of shareholders in a startup renewable energy business at a time when our previous president was talking to the Russians about nuclear, and everyone was saying renewable energy is not going to have a future, to 5 years later opening my own business coaching practice in the Midlands. And, you know, that wasn't even a dream when I first sat down with my coach. I hadn't even come to that realization. So having been on that journey, I can sit with a client and say, okay, you know, like, yeah, that's what you're telling me, and dig behind the dream, and, you know, what people are saying, I want 100 million in the bank or whatever it is, Harry, to say, okay, well, why do you want it? And, you know, what's the plan to get you there? So I think that's probably been, I'd say, the greatest part of the journey with my team and my clients, you know, like my landscape gardener who 20x'd, just to keep saying why. You know, every time he gave me a reason below the line or below the point, as we say, you know, is to say, well, whose truth is that and why? And what if you did something differently and it grew your business by X? And he came up with all that, Harry. You know, he did the work. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. So I think it's showing people, it's helping them stop limiting their future possibilities. Because I think that's what I find so common is people have imposed their own glass ceiling that they're scared of shattering. And so I'd like to think that's my value add, is to say, okay, so what is the wildest dream if we put that aside?
Well, business ownership can be a lonely environment. I think coaching brings that, as you rightly said, you know, pushing what would have been probably stuck in something you didn't like last year, pushing yourself into that new future and that possibility is what you get to do for other people all day, every day. And if you're listening to this thinking about taking on a coach, there is no better person to take on that, Luke. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'd like to do this too. I'd also like to make the difference, because we do have probably the best business in the world. And then, you know, maybe you must take that action too. And either which way, take action. I think that's why we joke and say the name's called Action Coach. Not maybe tomorrow coach, but take the action. So Luke, you've demonstrated again, you know, that we do have the most fantastic people in this business that really have a heart for people to make a difference in their businesses. And we thank you for doing that, and good luck on the rest of your journey. And we'll definitely see you in Cape Town for a good celebration for the year shortly.
I look forward to that. Thanks very much, Harry. Nice to chat.